I'm sitting here in the Toyota Crown Platinum, and let me tell you, this car is kind of a conundrum. Now, I just came from my fashion show in Paris, and so I'm dressed to the nines, and so I think we need to talk about the fashion, the design language of this car first, and I'll attempt to explain what this actually is. I think what Toyota is trying to do is they're trying to take a traditional sedan and an SUV and sort of put them together in this melted bar of soap kind of shape that sort of melts over the wheels. But what's really surprising about this is a very large SUV slash car. And what is kind of confusing is that Toyota lists this on the website under cars. But if you compare this to the RAV4 SUV, this is 15 inches longer. In fact, this is about the same length as the Toyota Highlander, which is a 3-row SUV, if you can believe it. So this comes out to be a very large car. And it is lifted too. It has 5.8 inches of ground clearance, and it comes in all-wheel drive only with 2 different powertrains, which I'll talk about in just a second. But back to the exterior. I think the front of the car is the most successful. You've got these 4 LED headlights. They're very thin. You have this element that goes between the front headlights. The grille is quite vertical, and I think it's pretty stylish looking, and it's definitely using some of the design language from the brand new Prius, which is a good thing. The rear is sort of round. In fact, it's very, very round. It reminds me a little bit of the old school Ford Taurus from the late 90s. And the side profile of the car is, it has good proportions, I think, but then we have this weird door insert, which I just can't quite figure out. And we have huge 21-inch wheels. So Toyota is going for an upscale buyer, in my opinion, in terms of the design. A lot of people do seem to like it. Let's take this thing out for a quick little drive, and I'm gonna give you my impressions about what this thing is like around town and on the highway. And it's also surprising. Are you ready for your premium driving experience? Because I am. And the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna see how fast this thing is 0 to 60. I'm gonna put it in Sport S and hit it. 6-speed automatic. It's very quick. Toyota says 0 to 60 in 5.7 seconds. And because this is a hybrid, you're able to do that kind of acceleration and actually get fairly decent gas mileage. So what is the Crown? The Crown is a nameplate that used to be in North America, and it left these shores. It's been in Japan for a while, I think still, but you historians can correct me on that. And it has made a comeback, and it has replaced the rather sedate Toyota Avalon, which I think is very popular with the retired community. No disrespect intended, but that was a fairly sleepy car. This is something entirely different. So there are essentially 2 different Crowns, and this is what is so surprising to me about this car, because you've got 2 very distinct personalities based on 2 different powertrains. At the lower end, at the entry level, you have the XLE and the Limited, and they have a 2.5 liter engine, a gas engine, made it to 2 separate electric motors, one up front, one in the rear. It is optimized for fuel efficiency, and I saw around 41 miles a gallon in that car on my last road trip when I had that car. And I thought it was pretty nice. It had a pretty nice ride, and it felt sort of near luxury, but it wasn't quite there. It definitely didn't have the performance and sort of the stateliness of this Crown. So when you move up to the Platinum Edition, which is what I'm in right now, you get up front a 2.4 liter turbocharged engine, and then you also get 2 electric motors, and they are bigger, more powerful electric motors than you get in the lower version. So total system output on this is 320 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. That's compared to the 236 in the less sprightly Crown. And this thing is pretty quick. This has also made it to a 6-speed automatic transmission, which shifts pretty seamlessly, pretty smoothly. And in the lower grade Crown, you get a CVT. And all of that transforms the driving experience. And there's one more thing that actually really just moves this into, in my opinion, into a different category, and that is the adaptive suspension that this has. This has something like 6 different drive modes, from Eco, Comfort, Normal, Sport, Sport Plus, and Custom. And it sounds like a lot, but it's actually pretty good. And it really makes the vehicle, it all sort of comes together in my opinion, because the ride quality in this is superb. This is every bit as good as a Lexus in terms of ride quality and refinement. The only thing, in my opinion, that separates this from a Lexus, two things actually, are the materials. The materials in here are very nice. I get leather seats. They are heated and ventilated. I get a nice leather steering wheel. I've got pretty soft touch up here. I do have a little bit of hard plastic down below me, but the materials are not quite up to Lexus standards, I guess you could say, or the type of the material. It's not quite as classy as a Lexus. But the other thing that separates this from a Lexus is the price. This is the Platinum Edition, and this is around $51,000, the one that I'm driving here. I think with Destination it's about 53, something like that. So it is cheaper than a Lexus, and in my opinion, you're really getting something that could be branded a Lexus pretty easily. JBL audio system in here is pretty good, but just the overall dynamics and the overall ride quality and the level of comfort in here and the quietness especially is very Lexus-like. This is a pretty quiet car. I'm doing the speed limit right now, and I'm doing 40 miles an hour. It's making hardly any sound at all. We'll go on the freeway in a moment, and I can tell you it is super quiet on the freeway too. And everything about this just has a nice, relaxed, refined quality to it, but this is pretty quick. I mean, this goes. There is a hint of turbo lag here, and you would think that the electric motors would do the torque fill and provide that, but somehow the programming isn't set up that way, so you can still feel a little bit of turbo lag just when you're getting off the line, but once you're moving, it's pretty much imperceptible. So let's get on the freeway here, which I am, and we're doing 70 miles an hour. Listen how quiet it is. It's super quiet. And I'm in sport mode, and this bit of freeway is terrible. I'm just gonna move it all the way down to comfort, and everything just kind of chills out and relaxes, and all those bumps just get soaked up. This is bad freeway right here, and this is doing an excellent job of just making those bumps sort of fade into the background. And at this price point, everything that this offers, I think this is a pretty good value. If you can say $50,000 is a good value, there's nothing really like this on the road. This is a very unique sedan, and as I've been driving this for the last week, and as I drove the Limited before, I've sort of come to appreciate what this is. I've sort of gotten beyond what I think is sort of styling that I can't really get into, but I really appreciate the ride quality in here. I appreciate the refinement, and maybe it's just the fact that I'm getting a little bit older and I've got my GR86 that I take the track, and I just want something that's a little bit more chill, a little bit more relaxed. And this provides all of that without having to pay Lexus prices. I think this is, again, the most surprising vehicle that I've driven in a while. Let's talk about the interior. To misquote the Rolling Stones, if you're a man of questionable wealth and questionable taste, you probably won't be wearing a shirt like this, but you probably will appreciate the interior of this Crown, because what we've got here is sort of near Lexus levels of quality. On this premium edition, we have real leather seats, and we have heated and ventilated seats too. I find the ventilation doesn't work quite as powerfully as I would like, but they are very comfortable on longer road trips. I also like the fact that we have physical heating and ventilation controls. We've also got a couple of USB-C ports here in front of the driver, and we have a pretty traditional gear selector, at least traditional in the new Toyota parlance. They've sort of moved this out to all of their vehicles. We've got a very nice 12.3-inch multi-information display in front of the driver, which is highly customizable and configurable, and you can display any kind of information that you want. And we've also got a bunch of different drive modes too. I also like the fact that we have a fairly large display in front of the driver for your infotainment, which is now the new Toyota Connected. It works really well. Zooming in and out, it's very responsive, and it is wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, and I've got a very nice sunroof which goes all the way from the front of the car all the way to the back. Speaking of which, that's a good transition. Let's hop in the back. So getting in the back with this very clever transition, because this is a very large sedan, I've got a lot of legroom. In fact, a shocking amount of legroom. Could it be too much? I don't know. Headroom, headroom could be better. I'm not going to lie to you, but we do have a little indent here in the ceiling, so if I sort of lean back, it's pretty good if I do the gangster lean. Pretty nice materials back here too. I've got a couple of USB chargers back here. I've got some of my own ventilation. And again, very nice materials, very nice soft touch points pretty much everywhere you go. Let's check out how big the trunk is. The trunk is a very comfortable place if you are a masochist like me. You can actually fit a couple of me back there. And we do have this nice floor mat over here, which is going to keep the water out of your trunk. This is a very large trunk, to be honest with you. And of course, these seats do fold down, 60-40 folding split. If I could reach it, if my arms are that long, which they're not, but you get the idea. The Crown is still a really surprising car to me. Well, first off, it's great that manufacturers still make sedans, even though this one is huge. And when I drove the limited version of the Crown with a 2.5 liter with less horsepower, I thought it was a pretty good road trip car and I definitely liked it. But with the adaptive suspension and the more powerful motor, this absolutely transforms the vehicle and makes it something that I think I really like, and especially at around $50,000, it's a really unique offering and it's definitely not cookie cutter. The main competition is from Kia and Genesis. I think this is somehow a good value. If you enjoyed this video, there's another one right over here. My name is Eric, thanks for watching.